Yep. We're live. I hereby call the January 2021 meeting of the New Ulm Human Rights Commission to call to order. We have some of our members here, and we have some online. We do have a quorum. We have 3 people online. Just by public meeting notice, when we teleconference, all votes must be taken singly, orally by roll call. So I will call out the roll and ask for people's vote as far as what we get when we get going. First of all, I'd like to take an opportunity to thank past member Sue Hunstad, who served her term out in the Human Rights Commission. I'd like to thank Sue for her years of commitment to the Human Rights Commission. And I'd like to introduce our replacement new member, Kristen Springer. I told Kristen I'd let her introduce herself to us. Kristen is to my left. And Kristen, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
All right, so like you said, my name's Kristen Springer. I work at Allina Health New Ulm Medical Center here in New Ulm, and I'm a medical lab scientist there. I lived in New Ulm about 14 and a half years. My husband Paul and I have 3 kids. My oldest, Colton, is actually a plumber here in town, and then we have 2 kids in school, Mason and Isabel.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the Human Rights Commission.
Thanks.
Welcome, Kristen.
Thanks.
Dan is to the upper left. That's Dan Kalk. Tim Frenning is right below him, and then Jackie, you can see Jackie's name is on the lower right. Okay, our first order of business is election of officers for 2021. As we have to need for that, just a reminder, we did in our last bylaw meeting create an executive committee in which the executives are responsible for letter writing and other such, and reviewing the bylaws and some other details as are assigned to them by the chair. So just keep that in mind for elections. So I will now open the nominations for the office of Chair of the Human Rights Commission.
I'd like to nominate Larry as the chair.
I second that. Jackie Crable seconds that.
Is there another nomination? Nobody's nominating. Is there a motion to close nominations?
I move to close nominations.
Is there a second?
Tim will second.
I'm not sure how to operate. I'd have to review my Robert's Rules of Order by acclamation or what it is, but Dan, how vote you? Yay or nay?
Yay.
Tim?
Yay.
Jackie?
Yay.
Kristen?
Yay.
And Wendy?
Yay.
Okay, motion passes. I guess I'm reelected. Thank you for your trust. Yes.
Congratulations. You've done a great job.
Thanks, Tim. Now, nominations are now open for the office of Vice Chair. Do I have any nominations?
Mr. Chair, I would nominate myself. I'd like to do it again if nobody else wants it.
I second that.
Okay, we have a nomination of Dan Kalk. Are there any other nominations? Is there a motion to close nominations?
So moved. This is Tim.
Tim? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Kristen, thank you. So all those in favor of closing nominations and thereby having your election, Dan, how vote ye? Aye or nay?
Yay.
Yay?
Yay, if I can.
Yes. Tim?
Yay.
Jackie?
Yay.
Kristen?
Yay.
Wendy?
Yay.
Motion passes. Welcome back aboard, Daniel.
Good to be back, Chair.
Okay, now we have the office of Secretary.
I nominate Wendy Ranghofer. She does a fabulous job. secretary.
I'll second that. And this is Tim.
And I'll just move right away to close that.
Is there a second to close nominations?
I second.
Okay, Wendy, are you willing to serve again? I'd always like to ask that opportunity.
I would be happy to.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
And to the motion, Daniel,
yay.
Tim,
Yay.
Jackie,
Yay.
Kristen,
Yay.
Wendy, yay. Motion passes. Well, Wendy, welcome back aboard. Okay, with that, now we have our order set. We do have a guest speaker for us today.
You have to approve the minutes.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Okay. Our guest speaker today is Cindy Winters. Cindy, if you'll take the stand, I'll let you introduce yourself. She does have a handout. I think you probably got a copy of that in the packets. Those of you who are online.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yep.
How does this work?
Ron will help you with the packets.
Well, who's getting that? I'm Cindy Winters, and I'm the project officer for the Heart of New Ulm project. And so address is 1324 5th North Street, New Ulm. And I'm here to talk about, and I'd like to thank the commission, first of all, for asking the Heart of New Ulm project to present on this very important information. We're going to talk about health equity in New Ulm. And it came about as a result of the impact that the COVID pandemic has had on the community and on shedding a light on the inequities that happen not only in New Ulm but across the country. So, and I know that I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's also it was also spurred by some of the conversations that have been happening in New Ulm over the course of the past several months, discussing housing and the location of a new park. And the purpose is to point out that we do have inequities in our community and that there are some neighborhoods and individuals that are left out of our discussions and decision-making processes, making their quality of life even more inequitable. So also due to COVID, the inequities are most likely to get much worse before they get better. And we need to understand that there have long been systems in place that have caused these inequities, and that these inequities are not due solely to personal responsibility. And the choices that we make are based upon the choices that we have. And if we don't have the good choices that are available to us, then we can't make good choices. The data on this sheet is primarily specifically from New Ulm. We used the Minnesota Compass, and then the Heart of New Ulm project has collected some of our own data within the community. The only exception of data that isn't necessarily from a public source is the hotspot map that's in the lower left-hand corner on the first page that you can see on the display. But this data is aggregate health data that's taken from the New Ulm Medical Center data. So, and it's important to understand that when you're reporting data, you can't report small numbers of data because you could potentially identify individuals. So if it's a small number of people, we don't report it because we don't want to identify any particular individual. And this fact sheet shouldn't be used to point fingers at certain neighborhoods, individuals, or organizations, but it's meant to help us think differently and with more compassion and understanding about our community, all the residents, and how decisions are made that impact all the residents. So on the first page of the fact sheet, you'll see that it talks about who lives in our community. So it's the ethnic, racial, and ethnic breakdown. And this data is from 2014 to 2018. That's the most current data that's available because it takes a while to collect the data and clean it and then analyze it. So we are 94% white. We have a population of 1.3% that are Black or African American, and we have a 4.5% Hispanic population. There is poverty in New Ulm. We don't have a lot of poverty, but there is poverty in the community. And the top age groups over the age of 18 that are living in poverty are the 18 to 24-year-olds, the 25 to 38-year-olds, and then 65 plus. And then the breakdown of those age groups are on there as well. And as I said, on the left-hand bottom corner of the map is a hotspot map, and it identifies where people in the community live that have a higher prevalence of diabetes, asthma, and depression. And we know that homelessness exists in our community. It's just that the numbers are too small to actually report. But we know that there are kids and adults that bounce from couch to couch across the community. And I think a lot of times in our decision making or even in our discussions about how people get around the community, we take for granted that we live in a rural community, so most everyone probably has a car. And that's not true. About 6% of the people in New Ulm don't have a car. And 33% only have one car. So if you're in a 2-person or 3-person family where both parents are working and you have one car, that adds an additional burden on how do you get around and how do you get to work. And then on the bottom right-hand side is just a photograph of what the difference is, or a graphic of what the difference between equality and equity is, so that we are making sure that our programming and decisions meet everyone's needs to the best of our ability. And on the second page of the fact sheet, this data was collected from the Heart of New Ulm project in 2017, 2016. Using the hotspot map, we went to those locations that had the higher prevalence of chronic disease and went to those locations and talked to those residents to find out what it is or what they did to try and to help their health. And they all understand what it is that they need to do. They just have barriers that allow them to live a healthier lifestyle. And so what's on this particular page, there's 5 things that they like to do with their families to feel happy and healthy. And number 1 is to be with family. Number 2 is to be able to go to a park. Number 3 is to go swimming. 4 is to go for a walk. And 5 is to do hobbies. And the reasons that they said that these things were important, it was to help to keep them together and closer. And we all know what social isolation can do to individuals, especially in this time of COVID. It helped improve their mood and reduce stress, and that has become a huge point of interest for the Heart of New Ulm project. We're really doing a lot more focusing around mental health issues. It helps to keep them busy and active. It helps to get them outside and be with nature, and it helps them to feel healthier and to manage their weight. And the places that people mention that they would like to be able to walk and bike to are the grocery store, parks, restaurants, convenience stores, to friend's house, and to the doctor's office. And in some areas, we don't have sidewalks, and people don't have safe places to walk and or bike. And some of the top barriers that were identified for walking and biking are snow and icy sidewalks in the winter. Poor driver habit is the second one. Fast car speeds was another one that was identified. And then lack of benches and seating along long routes when they're trying to get to places. And then we also just took a snapshot from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, said that nature can help us improve our health and equity. And people in under-resourced communities don't necessarily have resources or have easy access to parks. Those areas have a tendency to get left out in some of the decision-making processes. And then local transportation insights. So from the information that we gathered during our what we called neighborhood gatherings, were that over 60 of the community resident attendants felt like that was important for them to be able to walk or bike to the grocery store. 20 of them indicated that they valued the ability to walk or bike to work. Walking and biking to the grocery store is notable because grocery shopping is a frequent activity that typically includes hauling at least 1 bag of groceries. And then having the option to walk or bike to places like the doctor, library, post office, or pharmacy is noticeable because these services are limited in number and exist a farther distance for many. And so in addition to providing you with the community with the data on the health inequities in the community, we want to provide provide some recommendations and just a summary of what it is that we know and a definition of what health equity is. So health equity means that everyone has a fair and just opportunity to be as healthy as possible. And this requires removing obstacles to health such as poverty, discrimination, and their consequences, including powerlessness and lack of food or lack of access to good jobs with fair pay, quality education and housing, safe environments, and health care. And so what we know in New Ulm is that there is homelessness. We do have poverty in the community. We have under-resourced neighborhoods. We have limited options for safe and reliable transportation, and there's limited daycare options for those working overnight shifts. And so some of the recommendations that we came up with to help improve health equity in the community is to first and foremost be aware of any implicit biases that we personally may have. And there's a website on here where you can go to learn more about implicit bias. And then offer implicit bias training for your staff and or volunteers. I think it's important to get comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations because it's hard to talk about some of these things sometimes. And if we don't talk about them, we're never going to address them. Evaluate programs or projects for their effectiveness. Is there a need to shift or change projects or initiatives for greater impact? Do we need to continue to do things the way we've always done them, or do we need to be thinking differently about how we make decisions? And don't expect people to come to you, but we need to be going to them. Extend your decision-making timeline to incorporate new engagement strategies. Work with managers or neighborhood associations of under-resourced neighborhoods to identify and cultivate relationships with neighborhood champions. Don't get discouraged if they don't show up the first few times. Be cognizant of meeting times. Do they meet the needs of shift workers or late shift workers? Ensure meetings are set up so that individuals can provide feedback in real time by providing call-in options, etc. Use a variety of communication techniques to reach residents. Host community conversations in specific neighborhoods. Partner with organizations that work with under-resourced populations that can be impacted by the decisions being made. Recruit and develop community champions from diverse populations to serve on boards, commissions, and/or service clubs. Report back and keep the conversation going to help build trust. And set up informational boards where people congregate that allow people to vote on various topics. And I know we all know that this work isn't easy, but I think we really need to start thinking about how it is that we communicate with the residents of New Ulm and to get input from a broader representation across the community. So do you have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions for Cindy? Cindy, would you like the Human Rights Commission to do anything specifically, or?
I think, our hope is that when we're having conversations with organizations and decisions are being made, that we bring this information up, that a lot of times we have a tendency to make decisions around who's around the table and not necessarily really think about who's not, and stop and ask some of the hard questions and be willing to have the hard questions and bring it up to other organizations that maybe we had to take a step back and think more broadly about how this decisions that we're making or the services that we're providing are impacting the entire community.
We are planning, when COVID ends, we are planning a community training operation, which would help the communication patterns of dealing with,
Right.
dealing with these difficult topics.
Right, yeah.
But COVID's kind of thrown a wrench into that.
Yeah, and to a lot of things,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, no, just really thank you for the opportunity to share this information, and please share it with other organizations. And
Well,
Don't-
thank you, and we'd like to encourage you, when you have more information, would like to present more information, please come back and share it again with us, as we need. This is good information for us to have as well, because it fits in I see parts of here that fits into our plan. Like, we're gonna have kind of a difficult conversation a little bit later, but
Okay,
Yeah, so it's, it works. It's good to get a big picture for us.
Okay, great, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the next item of business, which is the approval of the minutes from the November 23rd, 2020 meeting. The minutes are in the, do we have a motion on the minutes?
I move to
I-
approve the minutes.
I heard two voices there,
Jackie moves to approve the minutes.
and? Was there a second there?
This is Dan. I will second that.
Okay. It's been moved and second to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye. Dan?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jackie?
Aye,
There's nobody else there online now, right? Correct? Okay.
correct.
Kristen?
Aye.
Wendy?
Aye.
Motion passes, minutes are approved. Budget report. If we looked at our final report from 2020, we had 65% of our budget left, mainly because we weren't able to spend the money we had because of COVID. And if you notice, I think our budget got cut a little bit for the upcoming year. Not to be unexpected. But we still have $6,000 for this year, for this fiscal year, beginning in January. I'll have to talk to the city manager about how we're gonna handle the, if we get to that this year, the training session with the Greater Mankato Diversity Council. Okay, requires no action on the budget report. Are there any questions on the budget report?
No.
Okay, I'll move along. We had our speaker, Cindy Winters. We thank Cindy. This isn't a committee report, but this came up as a question to me. Should the New Ulm Human Rights Commission plan or / sponsor some sort of Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration? As I was looking around, I noticed that we were woefully bereft in our town about celebrating this.
Well, we used to have the poster and essay contest tied to
MLK
that
Day.
holiday. And
Okay.
then because, we ended up getting so
Push
off
back,
with
yeah.
it being pushed back, but was initially when it was taking place.
Okay, all right. Is anybody aware of any group sponsoring an MLK event?
New Ulm?
Yeah, in New Ulm, yes.
No.
Not that I am aware of, no.
I've never seen anything.
No.
Okay. Should we refer this to the events committee for at least a brief study and report for a future meeting?
Absolutely. I think that that's a great idea. Mr. Chair, do you want a motion for that or? could
That
we
would be,
just
that
say
would be lovely. Takes me off the hook.
All right. I will move that, that we explore some type of Martin Luther King event with the events committee.
Is there a second?
I
Tim will
second that.
second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. We'll start with Dan.
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jackie?
Aye,
Kristen?
Aye.
Wendy?
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll refer that to the events committee. By the way, we will have to reorganize the committees. So if you're interested in committees, either the events committee or the education committee, please contact me and we'll try and divvy up the committees this year. I'll contact everybody and find out what we'll need to do. Education committee report. Anything? Not yet?
No, but we should.
We should
consider-
get on the poster and essay
Right,
contest.
yeah.
We'll make a note to emphasize the poster and essay contest now that kids are getting back to school, as well as the Greater Mankato Area Diversity Council partnership. We'll have to measure that as COVID and vaccinations dictate. There is no report from the Public Relations Committee, which is the executive committee. Are there any known current human rights issues? Okay. Legislative updates? Okay, Deanna is our city council liaison. I think her term is up for that. These are 3-month terms. The city council liaison either attends or watches the city council meetings and reports back to the Human Rights Commission as to any issues that may come up that may require our attention.
This is
Yeah.
Tim. I'll take the next 3 months.
All right, thank you, Tim. You want to note
Sure.
that in the
I'm
minutes?
noting it.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
All right, other business. A lot of this comes by way of report and information. The Welcoming Communities and the New Ulm Forward Group have been holding merging conversations, that the two groups will merge into one. And one of the things they've been talking about is naming, and also where they're going to be headed. They have similar goals and similar outreaches to the community, and so they've been having, some of the members of both groups have been having discussions. I'm a member on the Welcoming Communities group, and I've been on the on the conversation of merging the two groups. They're still in process, but I thought it'd be something that many of you might be aware, but it would be nice to have you well aware of what's going on in that corner. I'll move it. I keep moving unless you have questions. Does that sound fair?
Mr. Chair, I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I do. If we wanted to get involved, I know some of us have been to meetings of one or both of these before. I think most of us. So if we wanted to get involved, is there something already there as far as who we would contact, as far as whether or not we wanted to attend or be involved in some way, shape, or form?
New Ulm Forward, you would probably contact Sue Kimmel.
Yep.
Okay, and the Welcoming Communities, Sue Kimmel's also involved with that, but Lisa, the United Way lady, is it Pickle Stangle or Stangle Pickle? I never.
Lori, yeah, Lori.
Lori, sorry, Lori. Okay, I always call her Lisa. Bad. Okay, Lori is probably with the Welcoming Community. She's been taking kind of the local lead with that, with those two groups. Okay?
Okay.
I could ship you their emails, Dan, after the meeting if you're interested.
Yeah, and if you don't mind then sending it to maybe the entire commission, we do have
Yeah.
a new commissioner, and so I thought, just get other, these groups, obviously, we've worked hand in hand with on
We do.
several occasions. So it's good
Yep.
to, get to know them if anybody on the commission is,
And
new
it's
or
been-
old, is interested.
And it's been good I've been attending because some of them did not have an idea of what the Human Rights Commission does. So I've been able to share that with them as well. And not only what we do, but also our limitations. So,
Our limitations are mighty.
yeah. I don't know whether it was regard to where I got this from, but I attended a online Zoom meeting called When Hate Comes to Town. And there's a community response guide there produced by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which I think was important. The reason it was the three topics that they were three topics that they were talking about. One was the Islamophobia in outstate Minnesota, and Then they focused on the Islamophobia in Wilmer and the groups that were getting together and fighting these hate groups. But also which came up was this Asara, this group that tried to buy the church here in town but wound up buying the church in Murdoch. That was the third group, the white supremacist group, that came up, and how communities are bonding together to fight these hate groups. And so when hate comes to town was the topic, and basically how to a community response guide. And I just thought it was, I'd share some information with you. I thought it was helpful. I thought the way that the community responded to the attempted purchase of the church here in New Ulm was appropriate and within the guidelines that they suggested. They got people involved who were movers and shakers, and were able to see that through. But it's really dividing the small town of Murdoch. It's a very divisive issue, and I think it's just good for us to know how these hate groups work. And one of the ways they work is they come into a community and they stir up a hornet's nest of controversy to get people to attend their events. So that's one of the ways you can, you need to kind of just be prepared for those kind of hate groups. And they're targeting small towns in outstate Minnesota where there are large white populations. And so to try and raise up some anger and issues in outstate Minnesota. And I just think it's something we should be aware of and on our radar. That's why I shared that with you.
The name of the group was Asatru.
Was it what?
Asatru was the name of the group that tried to come to town.
Asa?
Asatru.
Asatru. Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember the name. I should have written it down.
It's in our notes.
Yeah. Okay, next item. Is there room, a community member asked me, is there room in the city strategic plan to include welcoming newcomers and immigrants and creating and maintaining equity in our community? And Lisa was kind enough to give us the 22-page table of contents and with the table of contents, the 22-page strategic plan from 2016, which I believe is probably our last strategic plan in the city, as far as I'm aware. But we might want to take a look at that and make some recommendations to the city when they do their next strategic plan to find ways in which to incorporate issues of welcoming newcomers and immigrants and creating and maintaining equity in our community. Some ways that we could do that. So that's something we might want to think about. I don't know if we want to refer that to a committee to report back to us on. But this was raised by a community member, someone active in the community, and just was wondering if the city had considered those issues, and that I thought fell within the realm of our mission statement here in the city commission, is to find ways to build it into the strategic plan. Anybody have any suggestions?
I think it makes sense to refer it to a committee and discuss and report back.
Which committee do you wish to refer? We have three committee choices. We have the executive committee, we have the education committee, and we have the events committee.
Well, to me, it would fall under education, but
would be
education's also
the
taking a
best.
poster.
Jackie, I'm sorry?
I said, I think the education committee would be
Okay.
the best.
Okay. So then I will refer that to the education committee. And hopefully report back. I'll find out from the city manager what plans there are for updating the new strategic plan when the next one's coming up, but we should work towards getting that implemented. And then related to that is a couple of people have mentioned that they were a little concerned at the language choices in our city council and commissions regarding the use of failure to use inclusive language and having some rather exclusionary language. Mentioning maybe some city policies that could be afforded to look at. But rather, we should be a little bit more guarded. The term that I came away with, this is my wording, that we should be a little more guarded in our word choices and in what we say in our public meetings regarding other people groups in the community. One example that was cited, just to give you an idea, is pretty much expecting that everybody was of German descent in town. Those kind of comments, and I think maybe if I'm perceiving them correctly, I think maybe a gentle reminder, encouragement might be worth sending out to the commissions and the city council, just to be careful of our language choices, with a couple of examples and some ways of referring to, appropriate ways of referring to other groups of people. Any comments or reaction to that? See, when you become chair, you become a lightning rod. You get all this stuff all of a sudden.
So, Mr. Chair, we're talking about kind of like the chairs, commissions, and councils kind of across the board, or were there like specific?
Well, I think the example, I don't want to pick on anybody because I didn't hear
Yeah.
them firsthand. I only got them secondhand. And, I think there was just a couple of them that were, the example that was mentioned was in regard to a city council comment. But
Okay.
I think the sense was that there was more
Yeah.
across the board
Do-
commissions. And I just think as our role as Human Rights Commission, probably wouldn't hurt to send out a gentle reminder, encouragement, without pointing fingers at any one group, to all commissions in the city council to be careful and guarded in our speech in public meetings, so that it's not to offend anybody. Something
Mr.
along those
Chair?
lines, we could get a statement together.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Jackie, thank you, sorry.
can we, this seems like a huge teaching moment. Where we can actually maybe make some differences with our committees, with our councils. I don't want to say one-on-one, but in small group. So they're not feeling attacked specifically, but also that we can have a little bit of a dialogue where it's not a huge group and it's not coming in email form or, like the friendly reminder is great.
Yeah,
Sometimes it takes a human touch to be able to use the kid gloves to approach the people who are going to side against us the most. Having an open dialogue that way, I think, would be a great way for us to come together as committees as a whole.
I think your point is well taken, Jackie. Should we refer this? This sounds like an executive committee kind of thing.
We also have a lot of money for it.
Right, we do, and I think the idea that we could do some training, mini training, at least, with each commission.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a
Dan?
great idea.
I think the training's a great idea, Jackie. How
Even if
about,
it's just bring a speaker.
yeah, how about I do this? How about I refer this in the short term to the executive committee to discuss, and then we can either decide to move it on to education or, do something with it, disperse it that way, one way or the other.
This might be a good option to work with Greater Mankato.
To contact them? Yeah. Okay, good point. I'm going to take the privilege of the chair and assign this to the executive committee then, at this point in time, and we'll keep everybody else informed. Item 14.5, Minnesota Department of Human Rights Virtual Commissions Meeting Opportunity, February 5th. There's a link there if you're interested. I've already signed up for it, but if you're interested in doing that, I think Tim, you and I went to something similar to that a number of years ago up in Twin Cities,
Correct.
sponsored by I think Alma went with us, right?
Yep.
Was training, and we found that training to be really helpful in understanding what our roles were, I think.
Correct. Yeah, that was sponsored by the University of Minnesota.
So that's an education opportunity, if you want to sign up for that. I know it's kind of at a bad time. It's like over the lunch hour, I think, of February 5th. But I wanted to get you that. And then the last question is the lawn sign inventory and distribution status. We should probably, at our next meeting, if someone could report that information to us, basically how many justice signs we have left and how many welcome signs we have left.
Mr.
And-
Chair, I can certainly do the reporting. I have a lot of both. So if there
Okay.
is anybody else that has some, I know we all, or not all, but a few of us took some, wouldn't mind just reporting to me what they have, and then I will
Collate.
run it up at the
All right.
next meeting.
That'd be great. Thanks, Daniel.
Yep.
Okay, and then, as we passed in our last bylaws, item 14.7 is an annual review. What I included, as Lisa was sending out the information to Kristen about the packet, I suggested she send the packet information out to all the other members, just to keep us kind of focused on what our mission is and what we're doing. And that's why you probably got that large packet of information. But as you know, next meeting, in the February meeting, the bylaws state that the executive committee is to review the bylaws and make any recommendations in the February meeting. So that's why the executive committee needs to meet anyway before our next meeting. So that's why I assigned that topic to the executive committee. So if you want to take a look at that, just a reminder of what our goals are and what we are specifically charged to do within the city charter, as well as our responsibilities towards education in the community, I think is well taking a look at on there. And I think she also included the handbooks and some other stuff that's maybe useful for us to keep track of. Anybody have any questions on that?
Nope.
Our regularly scheduled next meeting is February 22nd. 2021 is 5:15, still an appropriate time for everybody?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay. So our next meeting will be February 22nd. In the meantime, we'll need to have a couple of committees meet during that time. I will send you out the emails of the appropriate people with welcoming communities, and then I'll also talk to the members about which committee they'd like to serve on. Do we have any other business?
Just
Dan, go
one,
ahead.
Mr. Chair, I think maybe perhaps if either of our committees meet, I know the executive committee certainly has to meet, but if either of the other committees meet, I don't know if the new commissioner wanted to attend either one,
Yeah.
even though we have.
I was going to talk to her right after the meeting,
Yeah,
find
I
out
would
which
like to.
committee she'd like to be on. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll just make sure we email everybody, and if she wants to attend, obviously.
Yeah, we have to kind of redo the committee. If I remember correctly, Wendy and Tim were on education, right? I know that Chad, Deanna, Jackie, were you guys on events,
Yes.
right? And I'm not sure about Diane. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Who am I missing?
Diane might have been on the education.
I thought Sue was on the education.
Sue was on education.
Okay.
Dan,
so
what
it's-
were you on?
That's a really good question. There was There's two committees. How am I supposed to remember?
Yeah, okay.
Use
Tom,
them both.
Talk to me.
I was on both, but I was kind of,
You were chair.
Yeah, I
When you
was-
were chair, you were
yeah,
on
I was
both.
chair,
Yeah.
but that was like 12 months ago.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Wherever
Well, I
you
have a.
need me, wherever you need me, Mr. Chair, I
All
will
right.
go.
Thank you, Daniel. All right. Is there any other business? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second? That was Jackie.
This is Dan. I'll second, or unless somebody did.
Motion to move and adjourn has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Dan?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jackie?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Wendy?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, folks. Long agenda, but a lot of work to do as well. We'll see you next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome.